Tonight on AfterBuzz TV, Thursday night football after show, NFC South battle, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints. Carolina's still in the playoff hunt. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
North Carolina is taking their shirts off and celebrating because their season's not over yet.
Allegedly.
Technically, mathematically, it is not over yet. We're going to break it down live on AfterBuzzTV.com, on the AfterBuzz TV YouTube page, iTunes, SoundCloud. You're liking, subscribing, telling your friends about the wonderful world of AfterBuzz. What's up, everybody? I am Josh Tariff. Full gang is here.
Woo-hoo! Yeah!
I think the last time we were all here was the 2004 season. Lovely lady next to me is Miss JJ Jurgens.
Hi guys, you can follow me at JJ Jurgens on Twitter.
Over on the other side, the lovely Jill Munroe.
Hello, you can check me out at Stiletto Jill everywhere.
And finally, the lovely Michael Rippe.
Or, as you could say, the champion in DraftKings. You can find me on social
champ's
media
home!
at Mike Rips.
Yeah, he came back from his like excursion of his like long trip on my dime from
The
Getting Lucky and
DraftKings.
DraftKings.
Yeah.
Can I just say that?
No, you can't.
I really no. I just want to compliment you. I really like how you really get all the links and shout out to YouTube and all the stuff to find us. It's pretty impressive.
That's what we're supposed to do here. We want people to find us
It's
and
good.
like us and listen and tell their friends and the mortal enemies.
Only if you were as good as DraftKings as you are at that.
Oh.
All right, and Carolina.
That's the show. No, I'm done. Good night, guys. Good night.
I missed this feuding, you know? It was
Right.
so calm when it was just us ladies.
No, I'm
and
just playing with you.
Glad you're on separate sides of the table.
Yeah, yeah, it's good that you're arm distance more than an arm.
That's why I'm over here.
Yeah. So, NFC South battle. Carolina Panthers tonight defeated the New Orleans Saints 23-20. We had a decent game on
Yay.
Thursday night. We're all here.
clap
We
for
had
that.
a decent game.
And isn't that something to be thankful for?
It is, it's like a little prelude to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It wasn't the type of game that we were going to expect from these two offensive powerhouses,
Right.
but we got a surprisingly good defensive game from both teams, and it kept it exciting. Literally came to the last play.
Down to the wire.
Yeah, I'll take it. That's been much better than the last couple of weeks
Oh,
here,
yes.
where it's been a little struggle to stay up and be here at night when it's been a little boring. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I haven't been here.
He was busy like on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
And, how much
Posting
how much
sweet
money
Instagram
did I
pictures.
lose to you? It was,
Not enough. This season's not over yet.
Keep that going. Keep tuned in.
I must get my money back. But yeah, so overall, this game, like I said, kind of went back and forth. Carolina really dominant in the first half, and then all of a sudden, New Orleans exploded in the fourth quarter because we got towards the end of the half, it was 13-3, and New Orleans was driving, getting ready to take a field goal, try to get it, within one score, head into the half, and then we had a great defensive play that the refs destroyed.
Womp.
Well, the rest didn't destroy it. The Carolina defender.
It was a block in the back more than 10 yards away.
But it was a block in the back.
He was nowhere near getting to the guy.
Yeah, well, it was out of the play, but he still was a block in the back. But nonetheless, it didn't matter because they still scored a touchdown.
Thankfully, this way the Carolina fans did not attack the referees at the half. They immediately then went and had that beautiful play from Cam Newton to Ted Ginn.
That's right. That was a very nice catch.
Welcome
That
back
gets
to the
amazing.
league, Ted. He's been a little missing this season, right? That was his first touchdown of the season.
He had 10 touchdowns last year. Now, that was without Kelvin Benjamin. And all of a sudden, this was his first one of this season.
Can I just
beautiful
say
one.
that Kelvin Benjamin, as much as the hype was, last season, about losing him, what the expectation was, and he went out, and obviously the Panthers had a historic season. His return, kind of underwhelming.
No. Well, let's talk about that because really, on the offensive side, Carolina on paper was even better than they were last year. But, they've won 3 of their last 4, so they've kept their season alive. They're now 4-6. But why do we think that is? Why do we think the offense is not really clicking? Kelvin Benjamin's the type of guy, he's Cam Newton as a wide receiver as far as his size and just athleticism. He should be getting the ball thrown to him like every play.
And they were really like in sync before he went out. It was last season. It was really a concern. And so far this season, I don't know if it's Cam and whatever he's going through, trying to balance himself out and not be as flamboyant this season. And maybe that's taking away some of his joy and thus his connectivity. But it's just, they're not working out. I know that Josh Norman was a big missing piece, but that has nothing to do with this side of the ball. Yeah. So you just kind of wonder.
And Kelvin, he only had 4 targets tonight. He had 3 catches for 56 yards. So for only getting the ball thrown to him 4 times, it's a very good game. But why is arguably one of the most athletic receivers in all of football only getting the ball thrown to him 4 times against New Orleans secondary that is not good?
It's a pretty easy answer to that.
And that is?
That Carolina got out to a big lead and they tried to just coast their way home, which is what they've been doing lately, which is what they did last week and they lost. They tried to do it again tonight. They ended up winning, but you saw that they almost lost tonight again.
But he didn't. But I think 3 of these 4 targets were in the second half.
Once they got the lead, they just run the ball, try to run out the clock, and play not to lose. They played like a prevent defense, but prevent themselves from winning, which is why they had the big lead and they almost lost again. But that's what happened last week against Kansas City. They're getting tight. After they get the lead, they're getting tight. The offense hasn't been a problem for Carolina, if you ask me. It's been the defense.
Well, the defense has definitely struggled a lot more. Obviously, loss of Josh Norman, a bunch of young guys in the secondary. But I mean, Cam tonight,
not a good game.
14 of 33, 192 yards, 1 touchdown. That is not a Cam Newton game.
But it hasn't been a Cam Newton season, if you really think about it. He just had his first dab last Sunday in celebration. I personally think that he kind of sealed their season by hitting that dab, at least the game last week. But I think that just something's going on with Cam and he's not connecting. And if he's not football happy, then it's sort of like a dark cloud that resonates out. And if he's not in the pocket making it work, it's kind of shady for everyone else on offense.
Look, they've lost a bunch of close games this season. They're obviously having a really bad season compared to last year, but it's not over yet. They're 4-6. They're 2 games back. Still alive. Look at the schedule. Get a chance.
I think tonight possibly could have been his shoes, so maybe he should retire
the shoes. Should not be the
pregame shoes.
I was not.
You don't like his fashion sense?
No, I applaud his fashion.
His
because
pregame
I appreciate,
shoes
but
had a
these
mullet.
These ones were bad. So maybe you should just not let those come out again,
Have you seen any of his post-game outfits where he's kind of look like Mr. Planner or the Mr. Peanut or something? I don't know. He's just he's going through some things,
I think he's talking to Russell Westbrook.
Maybe.
He's got some fashion going on.
Oh, God.
And maybe, maybe Cam will dress up as a photographer next time. I don't know.
Well, as happy as Carolina is for escaping with the win, they did not seem all that happy because pretty much the heart and soul of that team was carted off the field towards the end of the game.
Yeah, well, luckily, though, it was just a concussion. They were talking about it when Luke Kuechly got hurt, that maybe he did something to his leg, but actually it's just being tested for a concussion. So much better situation there.
But a little scary since
Very scary.
and also since he was missed last year with missed 3 games, and it's like
Never good with a concussion, but the way the announcers were talking about it, they thought it was going to be like a leg injury.
I was utterly confused. The commentators were talking about that was a leg injury, and the replay, it looked nasty, like his leg was flat, and then someone fell on it. But he also got hit hard in the chest, and I mean, he looked like he was having trouble breathing. So my thought was it was like a rib injury, and then all of a sudden they talk about he's being tested for a concussion, and I'm watching the replay, and I'm like, I don't feel like he got hit in the head at all in that play. So I was like, where did the concussion come from in that play? But yeah, out of the options, I guess that's the best one for it, because hopefully then it's not
Hopefully it's not serious.
a serious one. Maybe he misses a game, But hopefully he's certainly back to keep on this.
Well, Carolina has no
run.
chance if he's out for an extended period.
Oh, sure.
They need him. He's the heart and soul of the entire defense in that team.
Yeah.
He's the Cam Newton of their defense. So
Yeah, and he was everywhere tonight. I mean,
yeah, he's a huge reason that Carolina is successful defensively. So they need him if they're going to continue winning the rest of the season.
And their schedule's kind of ugly. I'm sorry. I see.
Is it though?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. They play the Raiders next. After that, they play Seattle. Following that, they play San Diego at home. That's a winnable one. Then the Redskins, up in the air.
As
and Atlanta.
I look at the schedule, I think they can go 5-1. I think
Really?
I think they can get to 9-7 and possibly win the division.
Jill, what were their next 5?
So we have Oakland, Seattle, San Diego at home, the Redskins away, and the Atlanta
Falcons and the Buccaneers.
Falcons and the Buccaneers.
They're good teams there, but if Carolina plays to their talent level, I think the only game they're going to lose is at Seattle. They could still win that one too.
I can see them being like that sneaky team and getting that win in Oakland.
Oakland is not that good at home this season.
Right.
Oakland's been winning all their games on the road, and I like Oakland as a team, but I think Carolina could easily win that.
Well,
game.
yeah, because that's one of those things where if their defense isn't consistent in Oakland, so it could be like one of those off days. So I can see Carolina sneaking that one in. Seattle they'll not beat. I don't think they'll beat San Diego.
You know what?
I think they might be able to sneak off that win in Atlanta.
You could look at this realistically the way they're playing this season. You could look at each of those games and say that they're going to win or lose, because they could beat all those teams if they're playing to their A level, and they could lose to all those teams if they don't bring their A game too. And this season they haven't been bringing their A game, and that's why they're losing. But last week they played Kansas City. Kansas City, in my opinion, is one of the best 4 teams in the league.
Yeah.
They had them beat easily. And
No
they
one's
just
talking
gave
about
up.
Kansas City.
So my point is
just
that
quietly.
if Carolina plays for 4 quarters and to their level, they can beat any of those teams.
But have they done that all season?
They
You
haven't. They've
seen
been
them.
wildly inconsistent. However, they were 1-6 or 1-5. They're now 4-6. I think they should have beaten Kansas City last week. I just don't count out a team that was 15-1 last year. I mean, last year they won 15 of 16. There's no reason to say that they can't do it. It's not likely, but I'm not going to count them out. They're only 2 games back. They still play Atlanta once, who's in the lead. We'll see. And New Orleans the same way, 4-6. New Orleans is still right there.
Yeah, the whole division is a battle. Atlanta still leads it, but it's still definitely within reach for anyone.
It's still a game. The division is still up in the air.
But let's talk about New Orleans a little bit now. Now,
Absolutely.
also 4-6.
Yep.
We were talking about a not Cam Newton-like game today. It certainly was not a Drew Brees-like game today. 35 of 44, so that was pretty good.
Yeah.
285 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1 fumble. His first half was
brutal.
I felt like I was watching a quarterback for a team that I think is the most disappointed in the league, in the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, wow.
At least in the first half. Second half, he came back to normal. But
I think he was shaking off that Sunday loss still, because that was pretty brutal.
It's been a bad 4 days for New Orleans. They should have beat Denver last week, and they could have won tonight. But even last week's game is the one that's going to be. They're going to look back on this season and look at last week as the one that really killed their season, because they should have won that game. I mean, they can't kick an extra point. If they kick an extra point, they win the game. Instead, they get it blocked and lose on that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the stats for tonight, Drew Brees looks good if you're just looking at the stats, but that's why stats can lie.
Right.
He had a terrible interception, and the one thing I would say for New Orleans is that I like the uniforms tonight. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I do too.
I thought the uniforms were cool.
But yeah, I mean, he had 10 different receivers caught passes from him. So I mean, he's really good at spreading the ball, and that's why, like when it comes to on the fantasy side of it, other than drafting Drew Brees, you're like, I don't know who else in New Orleans I would want to draft, because he just constantly shares the ball with everybody. But the big thing here, so New Orleans also suffered a big blow with Mark Ingram going down, being tested for a concussion as well. After his game a few weeks ago where he got benched, he's been really tearing it up. He was having a solid game today until he got hit hard in the head in the third quarter and was gone from there. So, I mean, that could be a real devastating blow, because he's one of their fastest players, especially in the backfield, like with the short screen passes for him to go.
He's actually having a pretty poor season, if you ask me. And that's why the last couple of weeks, he had one really good game 2 weeks ago, I think it was. But Tim Hightower actually had a better game than him tonight. And Sean Payton's,
Hightower played the whole game.
Hightower, Hightower rushed for 69 yards on 12 attempts, and I like Mark Ingram, but I don't think that they've been using him as much this season as they have in the past. And do you guys think there's anything to the fact that we saw multiple guys get possible concussions tonight? And we just had Sean Merriman here before, and he told us that the older players don't recover as well for the shorter weeks.
For the short week, and I mean, both were coming off of bad losses where, maybe they.
And if you're looking at these guys, I mean, Mark Ingram's an older player in the league, and so
he's been around, what, 5-6 years?
He's an older running back if you're looking at the league. I mean, he's on the older side than the younger side. And same thing with Luke Kuechly. I mean, these guys are young if you're comparing them to, like, your age in normal life. But in the NFL, you have a short career.
Yeah, he's 26 years old in his 6th season.
6th season? For a running back, that's not that young anymore, really, when you're looking at the running back. So, I don't know. I'm just wondering, you think it's anything to do with the shorter weeks that we're seeing the concussions? It's maybe something to follow.
I mean, we are pretty deep into the season, so there's going to be that fatigue just from, even though, they're both pretty fresh off bye weeks within the past 2 or 3 weeks. But I think that, obviously, the further we get into the season, we're headed into, is this week 11?
We just began week 11.
Okay, so yeah, week 11. That's pretty deep into the season coming off of a short week. So I think fatigue is going to be a factor in any of that, even if there's not specifically an injury or something that you're concerned about, just the fact that where we are in the season, a short week, and right before play.
And what about this though? Like, Coach Sean Payton obviously led the Saints to a Super Bowl. 5-6 years ago now.
It's been
Super Bowl 44. So it's been 6 years.
Yeah, I think so.
So 6 years. The last couple of years, Saints are turning back to just being Mr. Mediocre.
Can I just throw a theory out there that it's not my own theory? I've heard it, but if you remember,
You can take the credit for it. It's cool.
I won't do that. Sean Payton, he was suspended for a season. You guys remember?
Yes,
that?
he was.
Yeah.
He missed an entire season.
Yes.
There's a theory. I don't know if you subscribe to it, but when he got that season off, that he enjoyed his life so much and realized like what he was missing as a football coach, that ever since he came back, he couldn't be as good a football coach as before that. Think about it, because all these football coaches, all they do is sit in an office weekend. They have no family life. They don't get out. They're just studying game plans for 16, 17 weeks. And then he got a whole season off, and he like saw this whole nother life that he could be living. Like, wow, I don't have to sit in the office every day. So when he got back from that season-long suspension,
he's just playing through his contract.
Well, I mean, not that he just couldn't dedicate himself the exact same way as before, because he saw the other side. It's something to
Maybe
think about.
wanted a little more balance.
It's not.
Better work-life balance.
It's not that far-fetched.
It's not that he's given him his all. It's just, you need to, what if he was given 100% before that suspension, and then now he's given 97%. That little extra 3% could be the difference.
Could be big.
And it's probably true when you think about it. For a whole year, he got to enjoy his life. And then,
if Saints miss the playoffs, is he fired?
I don't think so, because New Orleans has that consistency with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and they're competitive, and they've actually had a decent season. They've just fallen short in some of these games. They're going to look back on some of these losses that they had, and they were close. And they're going to – I don't think they're going to get rid of them.
Because I feel like it's kind of a Tom Coughlin situation in New Orleans, where they feel like, all right, you got us a ring, so we've given you this leeway – but that gap is closing at this point because the defense has not improved. Their offense, you got Brees, who will make anyone look good, but no one else. I mean, I still feel their biggest mistake was trading Jimmy Graham, because they have not really had an offensive threat like Jimmy Graham since then.
Well, they do have Brandon Cooks. He's not the tight end, but
and he's good.
They signed Kobe Fleener in the offseason, who's not a Jimmy Graham.
He's having a terrible season so far.
He is. He's
not. He did have a touchdown
he did
tonight.
Get one, I was gonna say.
He did. Yeah. He's not having a great season though. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, I honestly, if the Saints end below 8-8, I think Payton's gone.
Wow.
You don't think he gets one more season?
Can we put like a pizza on that? Because I think he's definitely coming back.
A pizza?
Yeah, like a pizza, and we'll all enjoy it. So even when you lose, we'll all get pizza together. On you. On Josh.
Yeah, I'm with these guys too. I don't think he's out after this
Come
one.
on.
I think he has.
Let's bet.
I think he has.
Pizza.
So then you buy the pizza.
Well, not if I win, though.
Well, no, if you lose.
If Sean Payton's fired on me, for sure.
Okay.
But if Sean Payton's back, then it's on you.
Okay.
All right,
you're
cool.
on.
Here we go.
I just want a pizza. We're getting pizza now. It doesn't matter.
He's got to wait like 6 weeks.
Hey, that's all right. That's like the next time I can eat it, so it's good.
There you go.
What?
Are you
on a diet?
Right.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
He's
Getting
already
ready
he
for the
already
new
has
year.
his, he already has his cheat day planned out.
I know.
I like
6 months from
that.
now.
I like that.
That's something to look forward to.
And that was 6
Next
weeks
year.
away?
Yeah, like next year.
Wow.
Pizza in the new year.
So right now Atlanta still leads that division, like we were saying.
Yeah.
Jill, you kind of have the playoff scenario. If the season ended today, as we begin week 11, what are we looking at right now?
What are we looking at? You mentioned Atlanta in the NFC, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, because I'm moving a little slow. We care about that. So right now, obviously, the division leaders are the Cowboys, Seahawks, Falcons, and Lions.
Okay.
Wild card, Giants and Redskins. And close in the hunt, but not likely, Eagles, Vikings, Cardinals. We'll just, give it to you right there. Stop there. Bucks lower down the list. There's a tie, but... So that's on the NFC side. On the AFC side, the division leaders are the Patriots, Chiefs, Texans, and Ravens. The wild card teams, Raiders and Broncos. Can you believe that it's the Raiders and Broncos?
I honestly thought the Raiders were leading the division, but I guess it's the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
It's the
just
Chiefs.
a tiebreaker. 'Cause
Yeah,
the Chiefs
it's the
put the
tiebreaker.
Raiders
Yeah,
ahead,
it's the
so
thing.
that'll
And
figure itself out.
close behind, Michael's Dolphins. The Titans, who he's been cheering for.
He's been tearing it up the last month.
Yep. And Steelers and Colts. So,
But when you say that, think about it. You had 3 teams in the AFC West and 3 teams in the NFC East in the
That's right.
playoffs.
crazy.
If the season ended today.
Yep.
It's not going to end like that, though.
Who do you see? Okay.
There you go. Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
you go ahead. Ask it, Jill. Ask it.
Well,
Who do you think? So, who do you think is the odd man out?
Well, let's go to the NFC. I think because the AFC, it's possible, but I don't see the NFC getting both 2 teams from the NFC East. I think that the Cardinals are going to get in still.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really?
I hope so.
I think the Cardinals.
I mean, to drop, but who gets bumped out?
This is kind of crazy, but I could see both the Giants and the Redskins not being in. I could see the Eagles. I like the Eagles more than the Giants and the Redskins in that division. They're only 1 game back there, and then I think the Cardinals will get in.
I'm thinking the Giants will fall out, and I don't know how, but I'll say Arizona. I was about to say Green Bay, but I think their season's done. So I'll go with Arizona as well, sneaking in. But I think Redskins will still make the playoffs. Though.
See, I think one of those teams,
I don't think the Redskins are going to make it.
I think one of those NFC East teams. It's like a crapshoot. Flip a coin. I'd take the Eagles. I'm not confident in it, but I think the Cardinals are going to get in. I like the Cardinals. I still think they got it. They'll get in. I like to go on pedigree. These teams were good last year. I think they'll get in.
And then AFC, you think all 3 AFC West will get in?
Well, I said on Monday night that I think that I've said this for a while. I think the Chiefs are going to win that division, and I think the Raiders will get a wild card, and I think the Broncos will miss the playoffs, even though that win.
But you just said you go on pedigree, so how are you going to say the Super Bowl champions are going to miss the playoffs?
That's a fair point.
It is a fair point, but they lost their quarterback. I don't like their new quarterback. They don't have a running back. They don't really have an offense. But that game against New Orleans last week was huge for Denver. That was a sneaky win that's going to save them. We'll see. We'll see.
Getting good.
I think Denver's been winning games that they really shouldn't win, but they're winning on their defense, and we'll see.
I just don't think Denver's. What's Denver's record now?
I think they're
7-3.
7-3. I think Miami's getting in over Denver.
Well,
it's kinda
Miami's 6-4.
5-4.
Oh, they're 5-4.
But
that's
a little LA action.
possible. That is.
Talking in 2 weeks.
I might have. I don't remember if I said it on this show, but I honestly don't think that Denver was going to make the playoffs either.
Wow.
I mean, Trevor Siemian is not that good of a quarterback. Their defense is great. Don't get me wrong. We'll see.
Yeah. And if you ask me,
But do you think that if they would have rolled with Brock, like if he hadn't?
No, I think Trevor Siemian's better than Brock Osweiler.
I think they'd be in about the same boat as they are now. Maybe a difference of a win here or there, but to me, Siemian and Osweiler are pretty similar.
Except one makes like $20 million, the other makes like.
Well, that's an issue. But yeah, we'll see what's up. We still got plenty of season left with that. Do we got any other news or gossip this week?
Well, I think I think for me the biggest news this week was Tony Romo's speech. Can we talk about that a little bit? I just for me this is just an amazing moment in sports, and it's just like being what an athlete is all about. I mean, if somebody, it's got to be so hard for him to. I just thought what he said was amazing, and I thought for a guy to completely take himself out of it and put for the good of his team, and I thought his speech was well worded, and I was a fan. I liked the sports moment.
No, I agree. I mean, the results are what we expected because Dak just keeps winning. And do I think that Tony Romo wrote that on his own? No. But that said,
do you think he really felt? But
I do think that he did. It was heartfelt because the guy, he's showing he is a teammate, he is a leader,
and he had been in that same position.
Right.
That's
who
how
do you
he
think
got
wrote
his
it for
position.
him?
I don't know.
I'm going to disagree. I think he wrote it.
Some PR guy.
But do you think because it was written down, it wasn't from the heart? Because I saw Ray Lewis saying that he didn't feel that it was, it might have been genuine, but because it wasn't just his words flowing, which I felt isn't fair because not everyone is a wordsmith.
Exactly. I do think it was still genuine, and I respect it because here's a guy who really, if he wanted to, could get traded and be a starter on at least half of the teams in the NFL next week. And he sees the camaraderie in the team that made him, and he wants to stay with that team and ride this thing out.
Do you think that part of that, though, is because of the fact that Dak is a rookie? This thing could flame out at any time. We don't think so, and Dak hasn't carried himself like the typical rookie.
It's the story of Brady and Bledsoe all over again.
He could hit the wall, and Romo come in and save the day, and then what? That would be a Cinderella comeback, right?
I already told you.
You already said.
What did you say?
He said the Cowboys going to win the Super Bowl, and Romo's going to be MVP.
Tony Romo's going to play this season. I don't understand why you guys are still
Why are you getting?
It's a nice speech. It was well said, well thought of. There's going to be a point where Dak shows that he's a rookie. He's going to have a bad game. Tony's going to get back in the game, and you'll see. I'm just telling you. We got a lot of time for this to happen.
I can see that happening. I really can. I feel like while his speech was heartfelt and a great veteran and setting himself up, should Dak run the table or so forth, Romo can exit at the end of the season, not even with the trade, because if they cut him, the Cowboys save money, and then he could pick where he goes.
Well, just today, Jerry Jones said that he still thinks he's not going to do anything with Tony in the offseason, and that Tony has another 5 seasons left of competitive football. Now, that might just be talking and Jerry Jones doing his thing, because there's a bunch of teams that'll be interested in Tony Romo in the offseason. But realistically, I'm not just saying this because we're doing this. I really do think that Tony is going to play this season, and I think he's going to be this season. The Cowboys season is going to fall down to Tony Romo. I don't think it's going to come down to Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott's been great. I think Dak Prescott has proven that he's the future of the Cowboys, whether that's right now moving forward or next season or maybe in 2 seasons. He's done well. I don't necessarily think you put Tony in yet, but there'll be a moment where Tony gets in the game, and I think Tony Romo's a better quarterback. I don't even think it's a question, to be honest, that Tony Romo's a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. It's not even close in my opinion, to be honest. But Dak Prescott has this team rolling. They've won 8 in a row, and so you can't change it now, but there'll be a time that Tony plays this season. You'll see.
I would love to see that scenario be true, because I would love to see that happen, and I would actually like to see Tony leave then after. I would like to see him play for a different team next year.
I think they've all handled it well, though. Dak's handled it well. Tony's handled it well, and it'll play itself out. These things usually do.
So, slightly off topic, based on performance last week, because we kind of talked about mid-season awards a couple weeks ago. Do you think Ezekiel Elliott jumped in the lead for the MVP race?
I do. He's incredible.
Yeah.
I think that's why you're seeing such a good play from Dak. I think Dak is good.
Yeah.
But his game has been made a lot easier because he's got this guy named Ezekiel Elliott who's unbelievable.
Or is it the O-line? Because I've heard
the O-line's been amazing.
The O-line of Dallas is incredible, and that helps both of them for sure.
Yeah.
But having a weapon like Ezekiel to go with it makes it a lot easier on Dak. Dak's really good at the play action, and that is strictly attributed to being able to have a great running back that everyone thinks is getting the ball. And when he does get the ball, basically scores touchdowns or you don't even touch him. But they're both awesome. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. They're both having great seasons. I like Dak as a quarterback. He's done really well. I saw him, and I remember I went to the preseason game against the Rams. It was the first game, and I remember thinking, man, like, he was awesome. I was impressed right then before, you know, who knew it would happen now. And he's great, and he's done amazing, but I still think that Tony Romo is an elite quarterback. While he's brittle and gets hurt a lot, we'll see. There's a lot. Wait till it gets a little bit more intense.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie quarterback.
Any other news this week? Because I thought I know of some other news. I don't know if you have it written there.
I don't. Go ahead.
What about Jared Goff?
Oh, God.
Jared Goff is starting on Sunday.
Finally, the number one pick in the draft is actually going to play football. Do we think they waited too long, or is this the right time for Goff to start?
Well, they definitely waited too long, but here's the reason they waited this long. I was thinking about it for a while, because there's no answers to why you would not have played Jared Goff. However, hear me out. This is the only reason. Jeff Fisher is a disaster of a coach. He's always been a disaster of a coach, but he had one thing in his pocket, and that was Jared Goff. And he's trying not to play him for a while so that he didn't have to use it. Because all he has left is this Jared Goff thing. If Jared Goff isn't good, then what does he have left to say? He's got nothing left. He could at least sell everyone on the hope of Jared Goff for a while.
Did you hear the explanation that, I can't remember where this came from, something about, so when Jared was in college, he didn't face as complicated as offenses. He didn't even call the plays on the field for his team, so that it was more of a learning curve thing for him and getting acquainted with the playbook as well as NFL football. Do you buy that? I mean, he's the number one pick.
I buy that a little bit.
Yeah, here's my thing. If he's the number one pick, why would they draft someone who doesn't know how to do that with a number one pick?
And not only that, you see this in other teams and coordinators and coaches. You can create an offense that fits the player.
Sure.
Don't make the player have to fit into your system. If you're a really good coach, you make the system fit your player, because your players are always going to be different. So no matter who the player is,
whole training camp, preseason, and 11 weeks for him to do that.
There's no excuse. You drafted him.
So I have one more story, if we're interested.
Sure.
Von Wafer. Not Wafer, I'm sorry.
Von Wafer.
Von Miller. Von Wafer is like an old NBA player. I don't know why his name keeps coming up. Von Miller. He's being extorted for, I think it's $2.5 to $5 million by a woman he met in Cancun.
Oh, no.
Excuse me, a woman he met in Cancun last summer who recorded them having sex and is trying to shop their sex tape. So
he didn't know.
Super Bowl MVP, sex tape, that's worth about $5 million.
Right. He knew that he just met her when they were in Cancun. Sounds like one of those planned trips where you invite a bunch of fun girls. She's trying to be an actress, and she hosts sometimes. Yeah, she hosts sometimes at a popular strip club in LA, and so
they all do.
They met and became friends, and now she's trying to extort him. So there you go. Be careful of your friends.
Hear that, Mike? Be careful. You went on this luxury trip on my DraftKings money. I don't know what you did. I don't know, but someone might be extorting you, and then you're going to have to really go like high roller on me in DraftKings.
Whenever you want.
Only other news, I guess, is big news for LA is that we broke ground on our new stadium today.
Stadium's being
this
built.
morning.
And they're projecting it to be ready for the 2019 season.
Yep, $2.6 billion.
Can't come soon enough.
Entertainment complex. Right next door to the Forum, right under the line of the airport. So
It looks beautiful. They said they'll open it up and you can hear ocean breezes. Get the ocean breeze.
Really? That's kind of far
They
from
said
the
that
ocean.
this morning. That's kind of what I
Sounds
thought, too.
good. Sounds good.
Yeah,
smog.
I was going to say, how are you going to hear the
That's
ocean
the
from
way
there?
they sold it. Well, I'm sorry, not hear the ocean. Feel the ocean breeze is what they said. That the
Okay,
side's
well,
going to
you know
open
what?
up. And
It does get cooler over there than, maybe the valley. So I guess that could be ocean cooling.
Sure.
Right? We'll go with that.
We'll roll with it. Let's look at some of the matchups for this weekend. Maybe some fantasy players to watch out for. First off, anyone on Pittsburgh draft or start this week. They are playing Cleveland, who is terrible. And Pittsburgh is furious that they lost that game to Dallas. They're going to score 9,000 points against, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit.
They should be embarrassed.
But I don't care who you start on Pittsburgh's offense. They're going to get points this week.
They're fired up.
Mike looks like you disagree with me.
No.
Oh, okay.
I think you're right. I think if there was one Brown I would take, would be Terrell Pryor, though.
He's the only Brown that produces, really, these days. I think it's honestly going to be a good week for quarterbacks. I really like Matt Stafford's matchup at home against Jacksonville. I've already talked about Jacksonville. What was the other one that I was... I think Kirk Cousins, Sunday night, is going to lead Washington to a victory over Green Bay at home and officially eliminate Green Bay's chances at the playoffs.
Green Bay has looked like trash this season, so that doesn't surprise me. That sounds very doable.
I would look for Marcus Mariota, and
That's another one.
That's been your highlight team, one of them all season long. You've been
Tennessee, they're good.
I think they could win the division now.
This is the game, though. They have to win against Indianapolis.
Yes.
Whoever wins that game is alive in that division, and the loser's out. So Tennessee's got to win this weekend.
Also, Odell Beckham, I know it's a common person to start, but I think you'll have a really big game against the Chicago Bears' weak defense.
The one person I think is going to struggle this week, we just talked about the Cowboys, is I think that Zeke is going to struggle. I think Ezekiel...
He's due for a not-so-great game.
The Ravens have an amazing rush defense, and I think this is the week. Actually, if I could just say it, I think the Ravens are going to beat the Cowboys this weekend.
That's your upset this week?
Okay.
I could see it.
Interesting.
Here, my upset, as much as we were praising them earlier, I feel like somehow Tampa's going to upset Kansas City.
Wow.
I don't know how, but I feel like this could be like that trap game for Kansas City.
Kansas City's 17-2 in their last 19 games.
Mm-hmm.
Something crazy, but yeah, maybe.
And then we are off next week due to Thanksgiving. Make sure you eat plenty of turkey. But we have 3 games on Thanksgiving, so we'll just try to predict those really quick here. So first off, we have NFC North battle, Detroit at Minnesota. Again, we don't know what might happen this weekend, obviously, if injuries. That can certainly change things. But Detroit, Minnesota's just free-falling to mediocrity.
Yeah, I think Detroit will win at home.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving game.
I think that one. Dallas home against Washington. If Dallas pulls off the win against Baltimore, I think they lose to Washington on Thanksgiving.
But if they...
So Dallas has a loss coming either Sunday or Thursday, no matter what.
Yeah, Dak's finally going to lose sometime in the next 7 days.
I think the best part of Dallas on Thanksgiving is their uniforms. I love their Thanksgiving Day uniforms.
Those are throwbacks, right? Yeah.
They're nice.
And then the third game, I think it's a very intriguing game. Both teams' seasons are really on the line in it. Indy hosting Pittsburgh.
I'm going with Pittsburgh.
I think that it's going to be a huge shootout in that one, I think.
Definitely.
So I'm looking forward to it.
If you want to make some money though and do like a parlay, the 3 winners, you got Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Dallas.
You're on a little win streak on me on DraftKings. All of a sudden, you're turning to like super bookie guy.
Expert.
No, I'm not.
Get your money and report back. Let us know if you take any of Mike's advice.
Listen,
and how it
don't
works
forget
for you.
last night I thought the Browns were going to beat the Ravens and get a win, so I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot.
I thought the Bills were going to beat Seattle a couple weeks ago, and I was
too.
close. I got really close on that one.
That was close. I remember.
But so that's our breakdown of tonight's game and what we're looking forward to over the next week. Again, we'll be back in 2 weeks because we're going to be busy eating lots and lots of turkey and watching some great football next Thursday. But in the meantime, you could talk to us on various forms of social media. Your Highness, Mr. DraftKings, Michael Rippe, how can people reach out to you?
You can find me on social media at Mike Rips. By the way, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, so happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And if you have any leftovers, just send them. I'll send you my address. Just let me know where I can get them. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right.
It's Jill. You can find me at Stiletto Jill. Check out JocksandStilettoJill.com and enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Hey guys, you can follow me at JJ Jurgens and at TomGirl.tv, and happy Thanksgiving.
And you can follow me on Twitter if you want to talk wrestling at Real Rosenberg. Enjoy the turkey, the stuffing, the cranberries, the ham, whatever else you cook. I make my famous buffalo chicken dip. That's my little specialty.
That's you that does that wrestling show?
Some other guy that looks like me. It's weird. And for all your other AfterBuzz TV news, follow him on Twitter at AfterBuzz TV. Thanks so much for tuning in. For Michael Rippe, Jill Munroe, and JJ Jurgens, I'm Josh Tariff. Happy Thanksgiving.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.